Nissan recently stunned the world when they revealed the new Z. A car that by all accounts was something that we enthusiasts actually wanted. 400 horsepower, turbo, and a frickin' 6-speed at the low price of around $40,000. It's perfect, but we're ideal cars. We are the broke boys of the internet here. You and I both know that when we hear $40,000, we know we can get something just as fast for a lot less money. So let's dive into a few cheap-ass alternatives to that new Z that are just as fun. Starting with a car I teased in my last video, where I talked about the best amazing alternatives to great sports cars. You can check that out up here. And those of you that saw that will know that I'm talking about the E90 M3. It's rear-wheel drive. It comes in a manual and has basically the same acceleration numbers. What it has that the Z doesn't is a sedan option, which means if you're some unlucky bastard who has to haul some stupid kids around, you can drop them off at school and hit 60 miles per hour as you're leaving in about 4.5 seconds. And look, you know I love JDM, you know I love Japanese cars, but even I have to respect the BMW M3. And if you ask me, this generation is one of my very favorites. Yes, I know, more than the E46, fight me in the comments, but I think that thing's ugly as sin. Meanwhile, the E90 sounds incredible. It looks fantastic. It has a huge aftermarket. And best of all, it is surprisingly cheap right now. What of course isn't cheap is maintaining one. I can't stress how tempting it is to buy a cheap example of an E90 M3. Not only do they sound amazing thanks to their this generation only V8, but they're even cheaper than the E46 M3 at this point. Meaning today you can pick up one with around 100,000 miles for just 21,000 bucks. That is nearly half of what that new Z is gonna cost you. Now of course the ideal E90 M3 is gonna cost you a little more money, but you're gonna save more than that on the expense of maintaining this thing. A really good example of an E90 M3 will set you back closer to 30,000 bucks, which does kinda make a new Z a little more tempting. But go ahead, be brave, drive Bavarian. We can of course go cheaper then. How do we go cheaper? By going American. Some people love the sound of a spooling turbo or two, but if a V8 is more the tune of your kind of music, do some donuts in a new to you C5 Z06. We've been talking about the Corvette a lot lately. Brad just did a whole big ass history of them up here. And it is an interesting historic comparison. The Corvette and the Z have always kind of been button heads. I mean, they called the 300ZX the Corvette killer after all. But after that, Chevy got all butthurt and cranked out the C5 Z06, with the pride of the Bald Eagle Nation LS1 under the hood. And the Z06 designation means track focused. It's got better suspension, a bigger engine, and some fancy pants wheels. Which means that even though everyone's gonna think you're a retired old geriatric driving it, this sucker is actually fast. Estimates are that the new Z's top speed will be pretty similar to the previous generation, which was 171 miles per hour. Well, guess the top speed of the C5 Z06, 171 miles per hour on the nose. Yes, the C5 Z06 is probably the fastest car you can buy for less than 20,000 bucks. Hike up your golf shorts and take a look at this one I found for just $18,000. Now again, just like the M3, that one's got a few miles on it. It's clean, but a few miles. You spend a little more money, something like 25,000 bucks, and you can get a really nice example. Now next up, I'm gonna talk about another V8, and you might have noticed a trend here. Kinda takes 2 extra cylinders to beat those 2 turbos that are coming on the new Z. You see, the Corvette has a hip sibling that no one can really see out of that fits the bill of kinda being faster than the new Z for a lot less money. The make is Camaro, and the trim level is the SS. Which of course stands for Super Sport, not some other weird thing, you weirdos. And in its 6th generation, the Camaro SS is a bargain. Yeah, unlike the Z06 Corvette's measly little 5.7 liter V8, the Camaro uses the newer 6.2 liter LS, which is just an absolute monster of an engine. You pair it up with a Save the Manual 6-speed and you just have a match made in American heaven, like ranch and french fries, or chicken nugs dipped in a Wendy's Frosty. Try it, it's good. With that combo, you get a car that can hit 60 in just 4 seconds, which is just stupid fast. I know with all the new Teslas and EVs and crazy hypercars, we're starting to think that 4 seconds isn't that fast, but I guarantee you get behind the wheel of a Camaro SS and try to get on the freeway, you are going to yourself. Now, of course, this being a muscly car, it is good in a straight line, but can we really call it a sports car? I mean, the Z definitely is a sports car. It can do it all. Accelerate quickly, go around corners, and most importantly, look great doing it. With the Camaro, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I will never compliment a Camaro on its looks. It kind of looks like a cheap knockoff Transformers toy gone bad, but it is actually capable of holding its own at any racetrack. In fact, the stripped-down version of the LS ZL1 holds some very impressive Nürburgring records. Will the new Z beat those? I hope so. But still, you're going to be spending twice as much as this Camaro to do it. You can get into a decent example of an SS for around 22,000 bucks. All right, I hear you. German cars, American cars, boring. Let's get to an actual Japanese car here. And no, not a BMW masquerading as a Japanese car. I'm actually gonna tell you that instead of buying the new Z, you should get an old Z. Nissan said that the new Z should outperform the old Z by about 15%. So if you buy an old one, which is way cheaper, all you need to do is add 15% performance, right? That sounds easy. And actually, it kind of is. It turns out that if you add just 7 pounds of boost to an old Z, you get around 150 horsepower, which is, I'm not good at math, but way more than 15%. Twin charged or pro charged, your choice. They're both gonna set you back around 7,000 bucks. Add that to the cost of a 370Z, which right now is floating around 20,000 bucks. You add that 7,000 bucks for a turbo, and you have a faster Z for 13 stacks less than the new one. Just, do your research. Dr. Squid is not responsible for your blown engine thanks to your crappy eBay turbo setup. But do send me a video of you doing a burnout in one. All right, moving on. BMW is not gonna be the only German car company I'm gonna talk about today. I mean, they are on this list a lot because, they make sports cars with V8s that depreciate like nobody's business. Probably because they're pieces of shit. But we should mention their greatest rival, Mercedes-Benz. And of course, one of their all-time greatest cars and all-time best values per dollar, the E55 AMG, which despite being a big-ass Mercedes will play with new Zs all day long. It is, after all, the greatest sports sedan of all time, according to Doug DeMuro. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it that, but here's what it actually is. It is a high-powered V8 supercharged monster with nearly 500 horsepower. When it came out in the early 2000s, it was the fastest four-door car you could buy. This big body Benz will hit 60 in 4.5 seconds, which is still fast by modern standards. As to whether or not it'll beat the new Z to the checkered flag, that's gonna be up to driver and tires, which is pretty freaking amazing for an old-ass German sedan that your grandfather lusted after in the early 2000s. Like seriously, who did Mercedes-Benz make this for? Dudes who wanted to get to the golf course really fast? And today, this is one of the cheapest performance cars you can get. Seriously, the dollar per horsepower ratio here is insane. It's 500 horsepower for $16,000. I don't know about you, but that is very tempting. At least until I talk to a mechanic. Now, once again, we are gonna stay in Bavaria. And this next car is cheaper than the new Z, but just barely. And if you buy it, Brad Danger will think you're really cool. I'm of course talking about Brad's very own 997 911. Look, you're watching an Ideal Cars video. You don't need any convincing to know that the 997 911 is a fantastic sports car. It's fast. Is it faster than the new Z? Well, you're gonna have to bitch at Nissan because we don't actually know yet. Nissan's keeping their performance numbers of the new Z pretty tightly under wraps. But my money is on the 997 will give you a similar, if not better, performance. I mean, the 911 has always been fighting to stay faster than a Corvette, and since we said that Corvette is faster than the Z, my guess is the 911 is too. If I had to guess, the 911 might be faster around your favorite racetrack, but it might not be as fast off the stoplight. It's got to carry all those golf bags in the back. Here's where the Z and the 911 really differentiate though. You see, you can buy a 911 right now for around $35,000, but in a few years, it'll probably be worth more as the Z gets cut in half by depreciation. So while yes, you might get a better experience out of a new Z, You're also gonna lose tens of thousands of dollars, while with the 911, you might actually make a bunch of money. So you might say the 997 911 is actually the smarter buy. Now next up will be my honorable mention, because I can't really prove that it's faster than the new Z, but I like to believe it is. It's a freaking kit car, and it is the EXOCET MIATA. And no, I know, don't click away. No one actually builds these things, but luckily for you, there's enough of these that have already been built that you don't have to get your hands dirty. The EXOCET MIATA is when you take a Miata and then just take everything out of it. I know what you're saying. Even a Miata stripped down to its skeleton is not going to be nearly as fast as a twin-turbo V6 frickin' Z. And you're probably right. That's where our friend Mr. Supercharger comes into play. Because you slap one of those on one of these, and you basically get an aerial atom. And while today you can't get an aerial atom for less than a new Z, you can get an EXOCET MIATA. There's one that's sold on Cars and Bids for an undisclosed amount, but sources say it's around 20,000 bucks, which sounds about right. And you can even build these yourself for around 10,000 bucks. Slap a supercharger and some good tires on one, and you are smoking a Z or pretty much anything else for sure. All right, one final car, but before that, you guys liking this video? Please give us a like down below and let me know in the comments. I love engaging with you guys, and it really helps the algorithm to get these videos pushed to the top. Now, let's go back to, surprise, surprise, BMW. And let's talk about the most forbidden fruit in car history ever. That's right, I'm gonna tell you once again about the worst, best car ever made, and that is the V10 E60 M5. Look, we talk about the E60 M5 enough, constantly. You guys know it's fast. You know it sounds like a Formula One car. And you know it will shoot rod bearings right out of the exhaust pretty much every chance it gets. But the new guy on the channel, Trav, has been telling me that you can actually fix all the problems with the M5 and make it a reliable car, which now I kind of wish he never did tell me that, because now I'm shopping for one. I just bought a damn van and now I'm gonna buy an E60 M5? Someone should definitely stop me. But they shouldn't stop you, because for around 17,000 bucks, you can get yourself a 500 horsepower V10 insane sounding Bavarian sports sedan that will wreck everything at the stoplight and wreck your wallet maintaining the stupid thing. Look, any day now, we're gonna be able to buy the new Z. Let me know in the comments what you would take instead of the new Z. Is it anything, or would you just have to have the Z? Either way, thanks for watching this far into the video. I'm the Squid, this is Ideal Cars. Like and subscribe, buy a friggin' t-shirt, support the channel because we love making content for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Later!